welcome to our second lesson on speech marks. Today I'm just going to go over things in a little bit more detail and just looking at your work from last week, what we need to look into a bit more. And some very exciting news, Miss Taylor has lots of new whiteboard pens. I have different colours and I'm so excited about this because my writing will look 10 times better if I don't have to keep rubbing it out and starting over again. So remember, you can pause this video at any time and just look at particular success criteria if you just want to focus on one area. You don't have to watch the whole video.
So let's just have a look at our first sentence that we need to edit. On Saturday, Ryan went to the park with his friends. He couldn't believe what he saw. So if we focus on our first part of our success criteria, where should the capital letters go? And where should we end the sentence? Now remember, you're looking to see if there are any connectives, and where would be an appropriate time to have a pause where we could put the full stop. So you can see here I have edited, first of all, the capital letters. So you will have noticed that, of course, on needed to be a capital letter because it's the start of a sentence. Saturday needed a capital letter because it is a proper noun. And so is Ryan. Now I put a little sneaky one in there because sometimes people put capital letters for any noun. And you might have noticed that I'd put a capital letter at park, but park does not need a capital letter as it is just a common noun. So just be careful, make sure that you're only putting capital letters for proper nouns and the start of a sentence, as well as using I, referring to yourself. So the next thing we need to think about is, where do our full stops go? Well, we know that one will need to go on the end, although I'll come back to that in a moment. This is a bit long for one sentence. On Saturday, Ryan went to the park with his friends. He couldn't believe what he saw. So where could the other full stop go? Since we don't have any connectives, we could put a connective in instead, but if we were to put a full stop, where would it go? Well, the natural pause would be at the end of friends, which would mean that he, the capital H, the H would change to a capital. He couldn't believe what he saw. Now, you may have put something else at the end of the sentence rather than a full stop. An exclamation mark would also work because he's expressing how he could not believe what he saw.
So to recap, we must put capitals at the start of sentences for proper nouns and when we are using I. When using full stops, we should use them to end a sentence unless it's a question or a sentence that requires an exclamation mark. We need to use them where the sentence is too long, so figuring out where the appropriate time is to end a sentence and start a new one. And when there are already one or two connectives, that indicates a sentence is too long, so we need to make them into two sentences or more.
So we know we only put speech marks around the part that is actually spoken. So have a look at this sentence. Where would the speech marks go here?
So first of all, I'm going to show you what some people do. Some people will just put them round the whole bit. Now remember, you only put speech marks round the bit that is spoken. So, what a lovely cold day in the sun, said Margot. Now, the only part that Margot said was, what a lovely cold day in the sun. So, we would actually put the speech marks there, because that is the part that is spoken. So again, a mistake would be to put the speech marks here, because the only part that I am saying is my favourite game has to be Dobble. So I would put the speech marks at the start and then after Dobble. Now, we should also have a full stop at the end. And there's a comma that should go here. We must put the comma inside the speech marks. It would be wrong to put the comma after the speech marks. It must go inside, okay? So we always, before we say said or replied or shouted, we always put a comma and then the speech marks. Sometimes sentences will be formed like this. The girls were having so much fun. And then the speech begins. This is the best day ever, screamed Daisy. So have a think, where would the speech marks go here? And where would you put your comma? And of course, don't forget your full stop. So speech marks can get a bit tricky when the first part is not the actual speech. So you have to make sure that you are looking for the bit that's actually being spoken. One bright sunny day, Rufus was taking his dog for a walk. Let's go to the beach, Joe said to his dog. So think about in this one where the speech marks would go, where would the comma go, and then put your full stop in. So, one bright sunny day. You would put a comma there to pause. But don't worry if you didn't notice that one, because we are focusing on using the commas within the speech marks. So one bright sunny day, comma, Rufus was taking his dog for a walk. Then you need to put what bit's been spoken. Let's go to the beach. That's the part that's been spoken, so you want to put your speech marks there. Now remember, you don't have to do 2 lines. A lot of authors just tend to use one. Okay, so if you just want to use one speech mark rather than the doubler, then you can do that as well. Okay. So let's go to the beach. Now we need to, before I put this in, I need to put a comma here and then close my speech. Okay, because then it's followed by Joe said to his dog, full stop. Now this is quite a long sentence, so it may be better to go, one bright sunny day Rufus was taking his dog for a walk, full stop. Change that to a capital. Let's go to the beach. Joe, comma, Joe said to his dog. Okay, so if we think about the bit that's been spoken, the girls were having so much fun. This is the best day ever, screamed Daisy. The bit that's been spoken is only this bit. So, because she screamed Daisy, you are likely to put an exclamation mark and then close the speech marks. So an exclamation mark goes inside the speech marks. Okay? It would be wrong to put it after. It must go inside. Just think about it as the speech marks being the bits of bread in a sandwich, and everything has to go in the middle. We'd put our full stop at the end. And you would also want to put, the girls were having so much fun, put a comma here so that you can see the bit that's about to be spoken. What are we going to need in this sentence? Pause this video now and work it out. So, what time is lunch? That's the part that's been spoken. Now that is a question, and we know that because it starts with what. What time is lunch? Question mark. Close speech marks, asked Sally, full stop. So because we've got a question mark there, we don't need to put a comma as well, okay? Now normally a question mark acts like the end of a sentence, you then put a capital letter. For some reason, we don't do that when we're using speech, so it would still be a small a, full stop, okay? So what time is lunch? Question mark, close speech marks, asked Sally, full stop. So it would be incorrect to have put the question mark outside. We always have it inside. And lastly, let's not forget, using said all the time gets really boring. So let's try and use other words like replied, cried, screamed, shouted, exclaimed, whispered, asked, laughed. This will make your writing so much better and way more exciting. So that was our last lesson on speech marks. I've uploaded chili challenges and I want you to choose which chili to work on based on the success criteria. So which of these success criteria do you think you have achieved today?